Hi, today we're talking about dimensional analysis. So what exactly is dimensional analysis? It is a step-by-step problem-solving technique that allows for unit conversions using conversion factors. Phew, that is a mouthful. So let's just break it down. First, what is a conversion factor? These are the equivalent points in measurements, and you use them all the time. You just probably don't think of them as a conversion factor. So if I said something to the effect of, what does a dozen mean? And you said 12, that is a conversion factor. If I said, how many ounces are in a gallon? And you said 64, that would be a conversion factor. So for every 12 whatever, it equals 1 dozen. For every 64 ounces, it equals 1 gallon. We do it all the time. For 24 hours, you have 1 day. Let's do a few more. For every 1 minute, there are 60 seconds. Or you could flip it and say for every 60 seconds, it equals 1 minute. A baker's dozen is 13. 1 cup is 8 ounces. So what do we use these conversion factors for? You use a set of conversion factors to go from a unit given to a desired unit. And yes, sometimes you may have to use more than a few conversion factors to solve, as sometimes you don't have a direct conversion and you don't want to go through really big conversions or make really complicated conversions. So you kind of think of it as a step by step. If I'm going from days, for example, to minutes, I wouldn't do minutes per day. I would go from days to hours because hours is the next smallest unit. And then from hours to minutes because there's easy conversions between those. And when you're setting it up, you're going to think given to need. You're going to put what you were given over here, and then that is going to go on the bottom of your conversion factor, and then your need's going to be on top. This is a conversion factor. Your conversion factors never change. You always put the units that are given on the outside, and then your conversion factors are always the same. So if you're trying to convert 2 minutes, and we're looking at this conversion factor, the 2 goes on the outside, you never change the conversion factor. Now, repeat, you never change the conversion factor. Okay, let's move forward. Now let's look at some sample one-step setups. So let's convert days to hours. So we have 1 day and the conversion factor of 24 hours for every 1 day. Then we multiply across and divide down. So 1 times 24 is 24. Divided by 1 is still 24. So for every 1 day, we have 24 hours. Okay. Now let's convert 6 dozen donuts to total donuts. So on the outside, we were given 6 dozen donuts. And then we use a conversion factor for a dozen. 1 dozen equals 12. So we multiply across 6 times 12, which is 72, and then you divide down, which is 1, gives you 72 donuts. Again, remember, please never, never, never change a conversion factor. You put different numbers on the outside, you leave your conversion factors alone. Let's try a sample two-step setup. That's a bit of a tongue twister for me. Let's convert years into hours. So let's think it through. There's no direct conversion from years to hours. So let's think of a step setup that might get us there in easy chunks. We can go from years to days, and then days into hours. So think yourself through before you start setting it up. So I decided 2 years. So notice how we're setting it up. We were given 2 years, so year here, because they will cancel out. Then we do days on top and then days because the days will cancel out, leaving us with hours. So when we're setting up multi-step conversions, it's important to follow the units. The units that you're converting into are on top and you're converting from are on bottom. So we were given 2 years. So again, years cancel out and then days cancel out, again leaving us with hours. Both of these are conversion factors, and again, we don't change them. They are either provided or something that you should know. So again, you multiply across and then you divide down. Then you multiply and then you divide, and that leaves us with 17,520 hours. 17,520 hours. And Mrs. McGuire noticed she forgot to put her equal signs in there, so I will fix that right now. Okay, let's do another sample problem. Let's convert minutes to days, because to date, or in this lesson, we've always had 1 on the bottom. That does not mean 1 will always be on the bottom. Sometimes you have to realize that there's going to be a number on the bottom in which you have to divide by. So let's look at it. Minutes to days. We're going bigger. So minutes can go into hours and hours can go into days. Okay. Remember, think yourself through how we don't want to do a direct conversion from minutes to days. That would be too big. You'd have to do calculations to do that. That is not an easy conversion. We're looking at step-by-step easy conversions. So we have 1 minute. So minute to convert to hours, hours to convert to days. Remember, the units you were given, then in the conversion factor, those units go on bottom. So we go from minutes to hours. Now we have hours here, so those units go on bottom because you're canceling out your units and you're left with days. And that's why these are over here. So you multiply across and then divide down. You're going to multiply and then divide, and you're left with 0.00069 days. Okay, let's solve a problem together. Let's solve how many seconds are in a day. So the first thing I would do is write down my problem. How many seconds are in a day? Then I can take my highlighter. I'm going to choose green, and I'm going to highlight what I'm looking for. I'm looking for seconds. Okay, so what I need, or what I'm looking for, are seconds. That means the unit that I start with, and let's highlight that in a different color. I'm going to highlight it in orange, are days. So I was given the unit of a day. A means 1, so I was given 1 day. So now we can walk through a setup. So I always put what I was given over here. So I'm looking for 1 day. Now I'm going to think myself through this as in, what is my next smallest unit to go from days to seconds? I don't have a direct conversion, but I can go from days to hours. So in 1 day, there is 24 hours. So I have 24 hours for every 1 day. Am I at seconds yet? Nope. So let's do another smaller conversion. I can't go directly from hours to seconds, but I can go from hours to minutes. So for every 60 minutes, I have 1 hour. Pen work, thank you. Now, am I at seconds yet? Nope, that means we have to do another one, and that is okay. We just keep going 1 unit smaller in order to get there. So now we know that we can convert minutes into seconds. So for every 60 seconds, I have 1 minute. And if you look at this, you can follow the colors. Days cancel, hours cancel, minutes cancel, leaving me with seconds. Congratulations, we've set it up properly. And then remember, you multiply across and divide down. You multiply across and divide down. And you multiply across and you divide down. And that leaves you with 86,400 seconds. And we're going to box the answer because that is proper to box your answers. And we have solved a problem together. Okay, let's do another example. How many years are there in 315,360,000 seconds? So, the first thing we do is write down the question. How many years are there in 315,360,000 seconds? So, let's highlight in green again what we were given. We were given a very specific amount of seconds. Okay, then let's highlight in orange what we're looking for. We're looking for years. Okay, so let us write down what is given. We were given 315,360,000 seconds. What do we need, or what are we looking for? And that is the number of years. So let's start by putting what we were given over here. So we were given 315,360,000 seconds. Now, instead of thinking of what's the next smallest unit, we're going to try to go bigger. So we're going to ask, what is the next biggest unit to seconds in terms of time? And that would be minutes. So we know that for every 60 seconds, sorry about that, we have 1 minute. Okay, now we have to go 1 step bigger. We can go from minutes to hours. And we know for every 60 minutes, we have 1 hour. Okay, we're still not at years, so we have to step it up a little bit. And we know that for every 24 hours, we have 1 day. And then, look at that, we're at days now. We're still not at years. And we know that for every 365 days, we end up with 1 year. I think this color is going to be different. I hope it is. Okay. And finally, we're at years. So that is a very good thing. So we've gone from seconds to minutes, minutes to hours, hours to days, days to years. Using conversion factors. Remember, you never change conversion factors. You only put a different number out front. So then remember, you multiply across and divide down. You multiply across and you divide down. You multiply across and you divide down. You multiply across and you divide down. And you end up with a number of 10 years. Or you could write that as 1 decade. Because remember, 10 years is 1 decade. It's an equivalence point. We're going to box our answers. And just to show you again, I did it in colors, but you can follow the unit cross out. So seconds cross out, leaving minutes, which cross out, leaving hours, which cross out, leaving days, which cross out, leaving years. Okay, my friends, let's solve another one. Okay, my friends, let's solve this one. How many meters cubed are in 4 kiloliters? Whew, this looks tricky because this looks like it's solving and going between 2 different units, but we can do this. So the first thing you're going to do is write down the questions. I wrote it down in shorthand. So how many meters cubed are in 4 kiloliters? So again, in green, let's highlight what we were given. We were provided 4 kiloliters. Then let's highlight in orange what we are looking for. We're looking for meters cubed. Okay, we can do this. So let's identify our given, which was 4 kiloliters, I'm sorry. Our given was 4 kiloliters. And we're needing, or what we're looking for, or what units we want to end up with, however you want to cute it, is meters cubed. So, if you remember back to the density and volume video, there was a very specific conversion between milliliters and units of volume in centimeters cubed, and that's a 1-to-1 volume. So what we need to start doing is thinking that conversion factor is from milliliters to centimeters cubed, and I have kiloliters, so I have to convert first kiloliters to milliliters. Okay, we can do this. Let me show you. So we start with 4 kiloliters. And we're going to take it to the base unit because it's easy to go to base unit. So we know that for every 1 kiloliter, you have 1,000 liters. Okay, now we're at liters. So now we can convert to milliliters. And we know for every 1 liter, oops, wrong color, I'm sorry guys. For every 1 liter, you have 1,000 milliliters. Haha, we have milliliters now, which means we convert from the units of liters to units of meters. So we know that for every 1 milliliter, and look how nicely this cancels out, it is equivalent to 1 centimeter cubed. Haha. And now we know that we're in units of measurement, so we can go from 1 centimeter cubed. We know for every 100 centimeter cubed you have, because we're going to meters cubed, you end up with 1 meter cubed. And you find this equivalence, if you're wondering where I pulled that from the metric system. And then if we look back on this, we can follow the cancel out. Kiloliters canceled out, liters canceled out, milliliters canceled out, centimeters cubed canceled out, leaving you with meters cubed. Remember, you multiply across and divide down, multiply across and divide down, multiply across, divide down, multiply across, divide down, and that leaves us with 40,000 meters cubed. And we box the answer. And again, in case you can't read that because the pink isn't showing very much, it's 40,000 meters cubed. Again, box the answer, and that is the problem solver for that one. Okay, now it's time for you to try a problem on your own. Try this problem. How many centimeters are in 5 decameters? How many centimeters are in 5 decameters? Okay, here's the answer. How many centimeters are in 5 decameters? You are given 5 decameters. You need centimeters. So you put your decameters over here, and you know for every 10 meters, it's 1 decameter. And for every 100 centimeters, it's 1 meters. Look, you're canceling the units, so you end up with 5,000 centimeters. Problem solver 2. Time for you to try another one. How many milliseconds are in a century? How many milliseconds are in a century? Okay, let's solve. How many milliseconds, or ms, are in a century? See, we're given 1 century because remember, A means 1, and you need milliseconds. So let's start our answer. 1 century is equivalent to 100 years. So you put the 100 years on top because you're crossing off centuries. Years can go to days. So you have, for every 1 year, 365 days. Days can go to hours. 1 day, 24 hours. Hours can go to minutes. 1 hour, 60 minutes. Minutes can go to seconds. 1 minute, 60 seconds. Seconds can go to milliseconds. 1 second, 1,000 milliseconds. So remember, you multiply across and divide down. 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 You multiply across and divide down, and you end up with 3.15 times 10 to the 11th milliseconds, or 315 billion milliseconds. Thank you so much. That is dimensional analysis.